ago, on their blueprint for conquest of the world, the Nazi leaders marked the region of the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence River. Here in eastern Canada, they saw a rich land traversed by a great natural vertebra, the broad St. Lawrence. Down this mighty river moves Canadian grain for daily bread of munition workers in Britain. The ships crossing wakes with ore boats, with cargoes of iron for the furnaces of Hamilton and Gary. Follow the tide of war across Huron and Erie, past the smoking plants of Ontario, downriver to Montreal. Here all the energy of the region is concentrated to provide the new weapons of war. Tanks from the long assembly line join the eastern stream on their way to the battlefronts of Russia. Beyond the busy wharves are the bombers taking off on their secret missions from the air base at Dorval, setting their courses eastward against the turn of the turning earth above the wakes of the convoys. Soon they will fly over ice or desert or jungle or over Nazi-occupied territory itself. And in the heart of Montreal's dockland, you will see the merchant flags of a score of nations as the gray painted tramps load their chrome and magnesium, copper, aluminum, and zinc, war cargoes from the northern hinterland of Quebec, cargoes that will supply the arms to relieve a besieged people, to feed and restock lands devastated by the Nazi. 100 miles downstream, and you will see, rising from the river banks where the seigneuries were founded long ago, the new plants of Three Rivers and Sorel. From here, the field guns and the shells move out on their journey to North Africa and the Middle East. Past the plains of Abraham, frowning down upon the river, where Cartier planted the cross and Champlain sought the discovery of the West, the outbound convoys pass not only an historic capital, but the new industrial city of Quebec. For with the supply of lumber from the Baltic lands cut off, every military engineer in Britain looks to Canada for timber. Timber to build bridges and pontoons, tools of the next offensive. German U-boats would cut this great artery of Canada's economic life, but against them sail the chasers and corvettes, depth charge racks loaded and ready, gun crews standing by. East again, where the hills of Gaspé gaze out towards the ocean, the big patrol planes of the RCAF Coastal Command spread their wings, protecting the seaward approaches to the Gulf. Eastward they sweep over Anticosti Island, searching for the long, thin shadow in the sea that denotes a submarine creeping in. Over Saint-Pierre and Miquelon, where the fighting French keep watch. Out beyond the shores of Newfoundland and the twisting coast of Labrador. Out above the spaces of eastern Canada. It is not only the spaces of Canada that the Nazi would have to conquer. They would first have to conquer the people. Standing ready to resist the attempts of Hitler are the French-speaking Canadians of Quebec, springing from a band of a few thousand settlers. Today they are 5 million strong, 3 million in Canada, 2 million across the border in the States. In their towns and cities, in their capital, Quebec, in the largest free French-speaking city in the world, Montreal, they have founded a tradition of steadfast independence that does not take kindly to the ways of tyrants. But the real strength of Quebec lies not in its cities, nor in the number of its people, but in the land, in the deep strength of men whose lives are governed by the seasons and the soil. Canadians here believe that work and simple living offer in themselves a solid and lasting reward, a bulwark of the spiritual approach to life. They believe that true gaiety lies not in the bright lights and ready-made attractions of the city, but in pleasures actively shared among friends and neighbors. In every village is the long-established tradition of personal responsibility to the community. For to the French-speaking Canadian, the community is a living instrument of willpower and achievement, wielding its influence in every phase of daily life. Today, a curtain of smoke rises above the landscape of Quebec, for in the new munitions plants being built along the tributaries of the St. Lawrence, in the secret metal smelters hidden far in the interior, in mills and foundries and machine shops, the people of French Canada are replying to the Nazi threat against themselves and their land. The steady integrity of these Canadians is a deep well out of which come resources to meet emergencies of war. As Canada turned to develop her plants in this region, the vitality of the craftsman of Quebec enabled him to master overnight all the complexities of skill required in the building of modern war machines. At this time, long hours and plain living are everywhere the order of the day. Throughout Canada, men are realizing that in the effort of each community lies a growing cell of national energy. And as they face the rigors and sacrifices demanded by war discipline, Canada's citizens watch the workers manning the plane plants and shell shops of Quebec, seeking the pattern which has ever molded the continuing strength, the singleness of purpose of French Canada. Through the din of riveters and the roar of tank motors comes the reply. This we have always understood, that if we have faith in ourselves, faith to hold fast and endure, we can achieve all things. Today, in the Laurentian hinterland, an army is in the field. An army equipped with axe and peavey, drill and shovel and pick, founding in the wilderness a new world of wealth to feed the factories. These are the timber riches of the northern forests with which the Nazis would like to restock their own supplies. Here, beneath the rock of the great Canadian Shield, beneath Quebec's long, narrow farms, are rich storerooms of minerals. From these pits and galleries are coming minerals almost priceless to a nation under arms. Chrome and molybdenum for armor plating, asbestos to fight gasoline and thermite fires, magnesium from brucite for explosives, mica and gypsum for electrical insulation, and rare metals so vital that one may not specify their uses. The gleaming waterfalls of the Saguenay are being harnessed to produce more than half of Canada's electrical power. Power to produce a third of the aluminum supply for all the United Nations. And north again, into regions trodden by few white men, they are pushing on, opening in the urgency of war a new horizon and a new future for the eastern Canadian Arctic. And so, from the cradles and the scaffolding of shipyards, ranged all down the bank of the broad St. Lawrence, the great names of French Canada's 3 centuries of history proudly borne on the bows of freighters and warships, are moving down the ways to write their chapter in the great story of this, the People's Century. For the men of Quebec are seeing in their great river a path of conquest very different from the highway of invasion plotted by the Nazi. They are seeing it instead as a path of conquest stretching forth to the strongholds of the Nazis themselves. In the training camps of Valcartier and Saint-Jerome, the men of Quebec have mustered under the sign of their fathers' determination. They have trained to become the fighting troops for freedom everywhere in the world. And when they return to these shores, they are hailed among the first Canadians who have suffered under fire to restore liberty to the country whose mother tongue is their own. Today, the sentinels, looking down from the heights of the Laurentides and Notre Dame, affirm the determination of the people of Quebec to preserve, through times of peril, that spirit which is so deeply theirs, the spirit that interprets freedom first and foremost as the opportunity of each man to contribute to the common good.